The science of vaccinology, together with the tools of public health, are the thing that is going to get us out of this. This will end. This is not something that's going to be with us forever.
All right. Tell me more. Tell me more.
I want to know more. Tell me more about vaccines.
Researchers and scientists, with the support of the U.S. government, are racing against the clock to develop a vaccine against the novel coronavirus.
My name is Dr. Anthony Fauci, and I'm the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases at the National Institutes of Health in the Department of Health and Human Services. What we have here with the coronavirus is a virus that's new, that is highly, highly efficient in spreading from human to human, and has a, relatively speaking, a considerable degree of morbidity and mortality. You put all those things together, and that's the perfect storm.
How would a vaccine protect us from the novel coronavirus? The virus that causes COVID-19, known as SARS-CoV-2, is made up of an outer lipid envelope inside of which is coiled a single RNA strand. Once the virus enters the body, its outer protein spikes attach themselves to receptors on cells in the lungs. The spikes allow the RNA strand to slip into healthy cells and reproduce, killing the healthy cell and spewing out multiple new versions of the virus. The host's immune system reacts by creating specific antibodies and by activating immunity cells to fight the virus. A COVID-19 vaccine would provide a protective shield by stimulating immune response ahead of any exposure to the virus.
One of the great triumphs of medical science in dealing with infectious diseases has been vaccinations. It has saved hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of people's lives. Now you have smallpox eradicated, polio eliminated, measles in many countries eliminated, rubella, mumps, hepatitis, meningitis, all those things.
How do scientists develop a new vaccine? To develop a vaccine, typically research sponsors begin by selecting a methodology and developing a candidate through lab research and selective humane testing on animals. With approval from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, clinical trials in humans can begin. Phase 1 of clinical trials assesses the safety of the vaccine in a small group of volunteers. Phase 2 assesses both safety and efficacy of the vaccine in a slightly larger study group. And then Phase 3, which is a very large trial, assesses efficacy in a large population of subjects against control groups.
In the case of the COVID-19 Phase 3 trials, we're running actually a larger trial than usual. We have 30,000 subjects per trial. I'm Monsef Slaoui, Chief Scientific Advisor to Operation Warp Speed. When the trials will be completed, then the FDA will look at the data and assess whether the vaccines are efficacious and whether they're safe.
I'm Dr. Stephen Hahn, the Commissioner at the Food and Drug Administration. We have the gold standard of safety and effectiveness for all medical products. The FDA, along with all of our sponsors, have top of mind the safety of a vaccine. We will not cut corners in terms of our assessment of FDA of that gold standard of safety and effectiveness.
Officials warned that when a coronavirus vaccine is ready, the next hurdle is how to get that vaccine out to the public quickly and in massive numbers. Joining me now is Jay Walker. He's the CEO of Apiject, a company that entered into a $138 million deal with the Trump administration called Project Jumpstart. Welcome, Mr. Walker.
Glad to be here, Lori.
So what is Project Jumpstart?
Well, Project Jumpstart is an emergency and temporary program in the battle against COVID-19. It's a public-private partnership between my company, Apiject Systems of America, and the Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of Defense. And its purpose is to ensure that by year end, we'll have at least 100 million doses ready to inject of a vaccine or therapeutic, assuming one is available.
How does the optional RFID chip work?
Well, each of these devices that are injected have the capacity to also have a small chip. What that chip does is it has the unique serial number for each dose. it is designed so that there is no counterfeiting. It's designed so that we'll know exactly that the right dose hasn't expired. However, that chip only refers to the dose. There's no personal information, no patient information. It's simply like a barcode, only we know instantaneously where and when that dose has been used. That also helps public health officials know when there are outbreaks, have we vaccinated enough people in those areas? That technology is purely optional, however, and the U.S. government hasn't even decided if they're going to use it.
Back to the coronavirus outbreak this morning. A lot of misinformation floating around about COVID-19. We are here to set that fact from fiction for you. We're going to get right to it. The claim we're looking at right now, the U.S. is developing an antivirus that includes a chip to track your movement. Let's fact check this. This is completely fiction. Absolutely not. This is wrong on several levels. PolitiFact says this theory circulating the internet started on Facebook. The posts claimed the U.S. government will soon have an antivirus for the novel coronavirus that includes inserting a RFID chip into your body to track your movements. This is not even close to being accurate. The post was flagged on Facebook as part of its efforts to combat false news. First of all, an antivirus typically refers to a software designed to detect and eliminate computer viruses, not in the human body. Second, that RFID chip refers to radio frequency identification technology, which has been around since the 70s, and those chips are routinely used to track your pets. But they're about the size of a grain of rice. They would never be able to fit into a vaccine needle. This is more of a conspiracy theory, people who are afraid of an invasion of privacy, but regardless, it's completely untrue. And we'll continue to fact check all of these coronavirus rumors this morning. Coming up, we check another claim floating around. Can you call an 800 number to check on the status of your relief check? That's just in a little bit. We're also going to be looking at if bananas are the cure-all for coronavirus.
So now we're going to talk about the AstraZeneca-Oxford vaccine. And we're going to compare and contrast to the ones that have gone before it, like the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine and the Moderna vaccine. Now, as you will recall, the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine and the Moderna vaccine are basically new vaccines in the sense that they are injecting messenger RNA into your cells to tell the cells to produce the protein that is the same as a portion of the spike protein on the virus, and that is what generates the immune response. So in other words, we're giving instructions to the cell to make the foreign protein which causes the immune response. And that is actually very similar to the AstraZeneca-Oxford vaccine, except instead of using messenger RNA, they're using DNA to do that. So once again, in terms of a picture, imagine we have the cell and we've got the nucleus. And what we were doing before was we were taking messenger RNA, and that messenger RNA was being translated by ribosomes and converted into the protein. And what we chimpanzee adenovirus platform for delivering instructions. Now, the adenovirus here does not use RNA like we've been talking about. It uses DNA. And DNA is a double-stranded form of instructions. Now, there's a portion there in the middle of that that is used for replication of the virus. Well, the genetic engineers simply delete that portion so the virus can no longer replicate and cause an infection in the human body. And instead, they replace that portion of the DNA with the genetic code, the instructions that the geneticists have engineered. And so what happens when you deliver this adenovirus in the vaccine, it goes into the cell and it releases the DNA into the cytoplasm. And then that gets taken up and goes into the nucleus. That DNA, according to scientists at AstraZeneca, does not get incorporated into the host's genome.
Last few minutes, the UK's mass vaccination programme against coronavirus has begun.
This is Margaret Keenan, who you can see there. She is 90. She's 91 next week, actually. She was the first person to receive the Pfizer-BioNTech jab at the University College Hospital in Coventry. That's one of 70 hospitals around the UK which will be giving the vaccine to over 80s and some health and care staff. The Prime Minister has called it a huge step forward in the fight against the disease.
This is quite